In the summer of 2002, as the world was swept up in euphoria of the World Cup hosted by South Korea and Japan, a young boy named Park Jimin was only about 6 years old. At such a tender age, he grew up in Busan, witnessing how football could unite millions of people through cheers, tears, and shared dreams. No one could have predicted that 24 years later, the boy who lived through the golden era of the 2002 World Cup would stand on the grand stage of the 2026 World Cup Final, entertaining billions of viewers worldwide as one of its biggest stars. This journey has now become one of the most talked about stories among ARMY on social media. Many fans are comparing two chapters of Jimin's life, which feel as though they are connected by a thread of destiny. On one hand, there are simple photos from his childhood. On the other hand, there is the adult Jimin standing on the world's biggest stage under the glare of spotlights, fireworks, and a stadium packed with a sea of spectators. The moment felt all the more emotional because the 2002 World Cup holds a special significance for the people of South Korea. That tournament made history when a South Korean national team defied the odds to reach the semi-finals, an achievement that remains deeply cherished to this day. Jimin belonged to a generation of Korean children who grew up immersed in that national spirit, even though he had not yet introduced himself to the professional world of entertainment. Years later, life steered him down a completely different path. Jimin chose to dedicate himself to dance from an early age, training relentlessly until he finally made his debut with BTS. That long journey was paved with intense practice, sacrifices, and immense pressure before his name became recognized as one of the biggest idols in the world. BTS's popularity eventually transcended the boundaries of the music industry. The South Korean group appeared at various international events, ranging from prestigious award shows to global forums. Jimin's name gradually transformed from that of a K-pop singer into a global pop culture icon capable of capturing cross-border attention. The pinnacle arrived when Jimin was given the opportunity to perform as part of the 2026 FIFA World Cup Final festivities. In front of tens of thousands of spectators in the stadium and billions of eyes watching through television broadcasts and digital platforms, he stood with absolute confidence on a stage that has long been synonymous with the history of global football legends. For many fans, the moment felt far greater than a mere musical performance. What they saw was the life journey of a young child who once lived through the 2002 World Cup era, now becoming a part of the history of the very same tournament in its 2026 edition. The 24-year span made Jimin's story feel like a circle that had finally closed at an unimaginable point. Social media platforms were flooded with posts showcasing side-by-side comparisons of Jimin's childhood photos and his performance on the 2026 World Cup final stage. Many fans admitted to crying upon realizing just how long of a road he had traveled. Who would have thought that a kid who lived through the 2002 World Cup era would now be a part of the 2026 World Cup final? One fan wrote. Similar posts quickly went viral, garnering millions of views within a matter of hours. Not a few also cited Jimin's journey as proof that dreams can take a person far beyond the boundaries of what was once thought possible. They viewed the story not just as the success of an idol, but as a long process built over years through hard work and consistency. What made this story even more touching was the reality that Jimin never reached the top instantly. He endured his days as a trainee, exhausting practice sessions, and various challenges throughout BTS's career before finally standing on a stage that symbolizes world unity through sports and music. Amidst the glittering stadium lights, some ARMYs chose instead to look back at that long road. They felt they were seeing not just a superstar, but also the young boy from Busan who had slowly turned his dreams into reality through every single step he took over the years. Because of this, many fans referred to the moment as destiny crossing paths once again. Not because Jimin was explicitly destined to perform at the World Cup, but because his life journey seemed to form a narrative that could only be truly understood after it had all unfolded. Today, clips of Jimin's performance at the 2026 World Cup Final continue to be shared across various platforms. Along with them, his childhood photos have resurfaced, causing many people to pause and realize just how extraordinary the passage of time can be. And perhaps, amidst the roaring stadium, the spotlights, and the applause echoing from every corner of the world, there's one question that lingers in the hearts of fans. Is this truly just a coincidence, or is it rather the beginning of a new chapter in history that will see Jimin's name return to the world's greatest stages? The reaction of ARMY across various social media platforms shifted from mere admiration to an outpouring of emotion that was hard to conceal. Many admitted to shedding tears, not solely because of Jimin's performance on the 2026 World Cup final stage, but because of the long journey that flashed back into their minds. Within minutes, photo collages of Jimin's childhood, his trainee days, BTS's early debut, and his performance on the global stage spread widely, becoming a moving symbol of his journey. For many fans, the moment felt deeply personal. They felt as though they had witnessed every chapter of Jimin's life over the years, from a teenager training non-stop to pursue a dream, facing various challenges in the early days of his career, to finally standing confidently before millions of eyes during one of the most prestigious sporting events in the world. For this reason, the tears they felt were born not just from pride, but from the realization of how long and hard the struggle had been. Several fans even wrote that they felt they were looking at two versions of Jimin at the same time. The little boy growing up in the 2002 World Cup era, and the world-class artist who has now become a part of the 2026 World Cup Final history. The decades-long gap between the two moments prompted many to reflect on how dreams, hard work, and time can transform a person's life in such an extraordinary way. Many also expressed that Jimin's journey gave them hope. They believed the story proved that great achievements are not born overnight, but through small steps taken consistently. For ARMY, that was the reason why Jimin's performance that night felt far more emotional than a standard musical act, because what they were witnessing was the culmination of a life journey they had followed for over a decade. Prior to performing on the 2026 World Cup final stage, Jimin had already racked up numerous achievements in the international music industry. However, for many observers, performing at the closing ceremony of the world's biggest football tournament carried a different kind of weight. The World Cup Final is not just a match that decides a champion. It is a global event that unites sports, entertainment, and culture on a single stage watched by billions of viewers across different nations. Because of the massive global attention fixed on the final match, every entertainment performance that forms part of the event is subject to intense international scrutiny. The opportunity to stand on that stage is not handed out to just any artist. The names chosen are typically figures with global influence, capable of reaching audiences across borders, cultures, and generations. Jimin's presence on the 2026 World Cup final stage was therefore seen as a reflection of BTS's massive influence in the global entertainment industry. A figure who once started his career as a trainee was now trusted to be one of the faces representing Korean music before an audience drawn from almost every corner of the earth. For many fans, the moment served as proof that BTS's journey did not just transform the K-pop industry, but also brought South Korean culture to international stages that had long been dominated by major names from the Western music industry. More than just a performance, that night became a symbol of how music can stand shoulder to shoulder with the world's largest sporting event. Amidst the roar of supporters had come to watch the final match, Jimin's performance brought a touch of pop culture that demonstrated how the World Cup is now not only a celebration of football, but also a celebration of global cultural diversity. It is no wonder that many armies called the moment one of the most historic milestones in Jimin's career. They reasoned that standing on the World Cup final stage was not just about singing a song in front of tens of thousands of people in the stadium, but about bringing the name of South Korea into the global spotlight through years of work and dedication. For the fans, there is a beautiful irony in this story. 24 years ago, the World Cup was a stage that Jimin could only watch as a young child. Now, that very same stage has become the place where the world watches Jimin. That journey has led many to believe that the night of the 2026 World Cup Final was not just a star's performance, but a new chapter in a long history of Korean music's global influence. Today, the photo of the little boy growing up in the 2002 World Cup era and the figure of Jimin standing on the 2026 World Cup Final stage continue to sit side by side in various social media posts. To some, the two might just be portraits separated by decades of time. But to millions of armies, those two images hold a far deeper story. About a dream that never stopped moving forward, about hard work that slowly found its path, and about a child who, without realizing it, was stepping toward a stage he had never even imagined. And when that night officially drew to a close, one chapter of Jimin's journey may have reached its peak. Yet for ARMY, that ending felt like the beginning of an even greater story. After all, if a boy who once merely lived through a World Cup era is now able to stand on the World Cup final stage, who can say for sure that this will be his final achievement? Perhaps one day, the world will see his name appear on another stage that no one has even thought of today.